start this week, as always, with our Face Off, where we debate the big topics that young India wants to talk about. The topics on which young India has a difference of opinion. Today, we're looking at traditional media versus new age or social media. Joining me now, Pavani, she's from the Lady Shri Ram College, and Niharika Ghoshal from the Delhi School of Communication. Niharika believes that traditional media is the way forward. We need to still keep banking on it, and Pavani, of course, disagreeing with that view. I'll let you start. Your time starts now. Niharika, you have a minute. Why do you believe that even in this day and age, traditional media still has your vote?
See, anyone can be online right now because online, we don't need any visitors for being online. Online media contains people writing blogs, writing feature stories, writing anything. So they call themselves a writer with grammar correction to be made out there. So that's a mistake which I would say people calling journalists of the writers who are on social media. That way traditional media deals with all kind of serious news, the real news which we get in day in and day out. So traditional media is definitely my vote, and traditional media carries a lot of details about each and every news, and I think you would also agree on that.
Well, yes, of course, but I can tell you that as a traditional media organization, we are now getting a lot of our information from social media. In fact, often they're called de facto journalists, the kind of news that sort of breaks on it. But you're right about other points, of course, that you made on the detail, and of course, language being the other major issue. But Pavani, counter that.
Yeah, in this generation, it's almost the social networking media is what we use the most. Even the journalists, when they have to post a breaking news on Twitter, they just post a 140 characters ka breaking news in the Twitter, and later on they promote the article in the newspaper, which takes a 1 day for them. And even for a TV show, that takes 1 hour to publish it. So for the instant breaking news and everything, I prefer for the social networking media is the best. Whereas now you can find in newspapers too, you find the Twitter posts where you can find a Facebook post where they'll be reposted in newspapers. And I'll counter to this one more thing. When I want a local news of some district or something like that, I need not go to that district and get the newspaper from there. But I can just go to the newspaper and I can get that. So I prefer social networking media is a very good thing.
Right. Niharika, counter that. Of course, first on speed, and then, of course, reach. When you're sitting in this city, sitting in New Delhi, you want to know what's happened in some tiny corner of Maharashtra. It's there online.
Definitely, I would disagree with my friend because she, in her first statement only, she told that it's restricted to 140 characters. If you need a news, 140 characters isn't sufficient enough to know it. So you need a detailed description. Like for the Arushi case, murder case, there was a live telecast happening, what happened to Nupur Mittal, what happened to her father.
Talwar.
Yeah, Talwar. So then when we wanted to know about the detail, we flipped through the pages in the morning, and then we came to know that what exactly is the news all about. So I don't think online media would give you that much description about any news. And a 140 character tweet would obviously make an impact, but what a newspaper makes, people feel about what it is, what the news is. I don't think social media can do that.
Right, we'll get into speed and all a bit later, but I want you to respond to that. 140 characters sometimes is the hook, but often it's also what gets in the way, because sometimes it's just not enough.
Yeah. Looking into the breaking news, you get just a one sentence one, which is less than 140 characters. It's just a breaking news sentence. It doesn't mean that you're getting the whole story in the Twitter. You get the whole story in social networking web, like blogs. You get the whole story there. You get the whole story in the next newspaper too. There are two kinds of people. One people will be like, I want the breaking news right now in the social media. The other people like, they validate the information which they get in the newspaper. So I prefer that at the end of the day, they go to the social networking websites to validate their information. So I think that social networking websites can replace the normal traditional media basically.
So are you saying that you would be okay in just going to these social media sites and it's okay for you not to have traditional media at all? Or are you saying this is very important?
This is also very important.
And it's important to have that as well. But this for you, in the present scenario, may be more important.
Exactly, because it's an young nation. So we need most of the youth are in India. Right. So youth corresponds with the smartphones all the time. They get the breaking news and they can go whatever options they want. It doesn't mean that they have to go through the particular topic. Whatever topic they like, they can go through the media or apps what they want.
Right.
So this is what I can say.
the other question when we talk about speed, now the one criticism of social media has always been that there's this big hurry to get out there, and like she said, they're not always, the homework isn't always done, which is why we see some major errors also happening on social media. You know, you have tweets being sent out and then apologies, no sorry, I'm afraid, in fact, you know, so and so is still alive.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that was somebody else who we just killed off. I mean, it can of course be very damaging, and that's of course the flip side of speed that we're talking about on social media.
So I do agree with it. Like according to this analysis and everything, 50% of the tweets were wrong. I do agree with it. But you get the instant correct information when you go there. Like you get it in 1 minute basically. But when you go to the newspaper, they take whole day to get it reprinted. But for the tweet, you just give 1 minute and they apologize for that. Obviously, they'll give the right information later on if they have the source and the link for that. This is what I want to guess.
But even if they get it wrong, it's not enough for it to take your belief away from social media.
Wrong things can happen in social media basically. It's like Twitter. If you see some of the Twitters, like when you see Osama bin Laden's attack of Americans Air Force, that you got first in Twitter and nowhere else. Some right informations also will be there,
right,
but we cannot concentrate only on the wrong information.
Right. Like I said, Niharika, you know, Twitter seems to sort of be a very important part of journalism. There's just so much information that you start getting out there. You know, from events that have happened. Say even MH370 actually began with some tweets that were first sent out, and other such disasters as well. Two, of course, you know, good news also out there a lot more on Twitter. We've seen political parties in India now really wake up to social media. So obviously, this is a media that cannot be ignored anymore.
It cannot be ignored. Since its inception, it has gained quite a big momentum. But now, with traditional media, again, of course, when you want to inspire the India to read more, why not start with a newspaper? A day starting with a newspaper would actually make you feel better with all the details in your mind, and then you can actually go, if you just go through your app in the morning, you know the headlines, but you don't know the details. You just know some restricted characters. But when you go on in the day and meet other people who ask you, who they encounter you with the news, you can actually give them a detailed picture and be the fan of the day, like the person of the day.
Right. For you, devil lies in the detail, and you're saying social media is just the hook. If I want to read more, I can go out there and read the full article, but that's the hook. And for you, you're saying no, I want all my detail, and then I can decide what works for me and what doesn't. But respond to this, that all those youngsters there, and you know, you guys of course fit that age group perfectly, who say that this is the age of instant gratification. I want news on the go. Like she said, I'm on my phone, I'm on my apps, I want it on the go. I can't wait for tomorrow morning or wait to get to a traffic light to buy the newspaper. I want instant gratification, and that is where social media scores big time.
Yeah, definitely it scores big time, but with news like people getting arrested by posting a status on Facebook or on Twitter or sending apologies later, why not go with the traditional media, which offers a research background? People out there writing news and broadcasting news aren't just giving it away, because they are backed by a research team which is foolproof, and then you don't need to apologize later on. So be prepared for it.
Right, better to be prepared, better to be doing your homework, right, instead of getting into all of this. But how do you sort of respond to the fact that social media might be focusing more on the young, but it comes, of course, at a big cost? Like one of the first things that she said was language and the beating that it takes on social media.
Yeah. Okay, let me counter what you have said. You said ki like the youth mostly prefers to the newspaper. But that's wrong. When you see an app, when you get an app of a news channel, you get the headlines there. If you like the headlines, then you can go through the full details in the app itself. It doesn't mean that they only give the blog. I mean, they only give the breaking news. It means that they also give the detailed information. And it's right to freedom. You know, you have a lot of freedom in social media where you don't get in newspapers. Everyone can't send an article to the newspaper, whereas you can post an article in your blog where your feelings can be noted down. And talking about the illiterate people, basically, obviously, they can only watch. What I feel is that there have to be some social media houses in the villages where they can go, and through the visual, like voice vibrations, they can get the visuals what they wanted to. Even some people doesn't want the information which is happening in the world, but they want the information which is happening in the local city.
Right,
So in
but
that
of course,
case,
the counter to that would be all those villages out there which perhaps don't even have electricity, say for instance, which
Yeah.
is why this is going to be, at least for now, seems to be more of an urban phenomena than a rural one. Don't
Yeah.
you believe that that sort of is, it's, so therefore it's not representative of India as a country?
Yeah, it depends on the particular government states actually. The governments should take the initiatives to develop those villages, those farmers who are in need, who want more techniques to develop their farming or something like that. So it completely depends on the government to take the initiatives about that. So
Right, so wrap this up for us, Niharika. You've heard what both sides have to say, of course, your belief and what Pavani has to say. You're still saying traditional media the way to go, far better language skills and of course research, and you would trust traditional media any day
Yes.
over a tweet you saw.
Definitely. And going by the generation again, our generation has followed the use of traditional media more. Social media has just started few years back, and I think it will gain momentum more in the coming days. But for traditional media to survive, it's authentic, it's reliable, and if you want a detailed picture, you can definitely bank on traditional media. And again, delivering it to the masses, social media does, but when in an authentic manner and in a serious note, traditional media wins the way.
Right, Pavani, you're still of course not entirely convinced.
okay. So what I mean is like when you come to the social media, all the newspapers have a blog right now in social media. When they wanted to promote their news channel or something like that, they use the social media but not the normal way or traditional media. Of course, old is gold, traditional media is gold. Since it has been from so many years, it's a 50% of moving into the masses. But since 2 years, almost the social networking websites have 27% where they can achieve their full target in the coming up years. By 2016, in India, you will have 564 million people who use internet. So this is the time where we can use more social media to
So
spread the
you're
news.
saying now we're at that point where we can harness the power of social media more and its reach. Of course, I don't think traditional media is going anywhere in a hurry, and thank God for that. Of course, social media here to stay as well. Thanks both Niharika and Pavani for taking out the time to speak to us. Pleasure to have you on the program. Well, I think we do need to wrap on that note, but Pavani, Niharika, thanks very much for joining us. Great to have you on the program. I don't think traditional media is going anywhere, but of course we do need to live with the reality of social media and of course the enormous power and influence it wields as well. Well, talking about social media and what's happening online, well, Kriti Mathur is up next with all that's been making headlines and all that's been on social media this past week that you cannot afford to miss. That's coming up right after the break.